right where we're found. However different we may seem, I know this is true. The light inside of me is the light inside of you.
Tennessee is a beautiful place, but its most precious resource is its people. Unfortunately, the people of Tennessee are burdened with an unfair tax system. This system does not promote economic growth, and it hurts the quality of life of the majority of Tennesseans. It is time to take a realistic look at reforming Tennessee's tax system. Tennessee has one of the most regressive tax systems in the United States. A regressive tax system makes middle and lower income people pay a larger share of their income in taxes than upper income people. Experts have come up with varying estimates of the tax burden people in Tennessee pay, but they all agree on one thing: Tennessee's tax system is unfair.
Tennessee has allowed its tax structure to get completely out of sync as far as fair treatment of the citizens of Tennessee. A person making $15,000 a year, a family making $15,000 a year, pays about 8.7% of their money in Tennessee taxes, while a family making $90,000 a year pays a little over 4% in Tennessee taxes. This is a very unfair system because that low-wage earner in Tennessee ranks about 10th in the nation in his tax burden, while a person making $90,000 a year ranks 42nd in his tax burden.
The major reason Tennessee's tax system is so unfair is because it relies on sales tax as its major source of revenue. 61% of Tennessee's revenue comes from sales tax. The U.S. average is only 35%. Sales tax hurts middle and low-income people. They spend a larger percentage of their income on taxable items than wealthier people.
The fact is the tax situation in Tennessee and the sources of revenue from our tax structure are simply will not keep up. I served under Governor Frank Clement. He raised the sales tax. Governor Winfield Dunn raised the sales tax. Governor Ray Blanton raised the sales tax. Governor Lamar Alexander raised the sales tax. And the most conservative man I know in Tennessee is Ned Ray McWhirter, but he also had to raise the sales tax. So I would predict that the next governor will have to raise the sales tax, and then the next governor after him, unless some revamping of our tax structure is accomplished in the next few years.
The foremost injustice of our state's tax system is the tax on food. Nothing is more basic than food, which is vital to life itself. Tennessee is one of only 19 state governments in the U.S. which taxes food.
Tax reform is a hunger issue. Food is a basic necessity. Food eats up a major portion of the budget of lower income people. Many families spend 1/3 or more of their earnings on food, and they are paying an 8.25% sales tax on this food. For these people, eliminating the sales tax on food would make it possible to buy another whole month's worth of groceries. Removing the sales tax on food would eliminate one of the root causes of hunger in Tennessee.
Many Tennesseans drive to Kentucky to shop. Kentucky has a lower sales tax rate than Tennessee and does not tax groceries. Over 50% of the people in Tennessee live near another state which has a lower sales tax rate than Tennessee. All of Tennessee's neighboring states have an income tax. Tennessee does not. As a consequence, it has the highest sales tax rate in the Southeast and one of the highest sales tax rates in the nation.
I am a merchant in Chattanooga, Tennessee, adjacent to the state of Georgia. I am very much concerned about the need of tax reform. In the state of Georgia, they charge 5% in sales tax. In the state of Tennessee, we charge 7 3/4%. Obviously a disparity which encourages people to buy merchandise in the state of Georgia instead of Tennessee, and therefore we lose revenues.
I'm told that we are chasing about $1 billion worth of sales and services out of Tennessee every year. That means we are exporting the jobs that go with that $1 billion worth of sales and services. If we could get that $1 billion back into Tennessee, it would create 20,000 new jobs in Tennessee. As a point of reference, I might mention that we have spent something like $25 million under Governor McWhirter's tenure to create new jobs in Tennessee, and we've created 13,600 new jobs, but it cost us $25 million. What I'm suggesting is a method to create 20,000 new jobs at no cost at all. It's really interesting to note that 54% of the people in Tennessee live in a county that touches another state. And most of those 54% are buying in another state to save sales taxes because our sales tax is too high. But the fact is that through the middle of the state, the other 48% live, and they don't drive to another state to buy. So in effect, they're paying more than their fair share of the cost of government in Tennessee. They're having to make up for the sales taxes we lose for people going to buy in another state. And this is really not fair, and this is hitting people whether they're low income or high income. It's just not fair, and the tax structure in Tennessee is just not fair.
The children of Tennessee are Tennessee's most valuable asset. They are the future of our state. Tennessee's unfair tax structure hurts our children.
With education funded primarily by property and sales taxes, poor rural Tennessee counties cannot afford to provide an adequate education for their children. When a recession hits, there are not enough textbooks to go around. School buses don't run, teachers are laid off, and classes become so large that learning is difficult. Many Tennessee schools are in serious disrepair because of years of inadequate funding.
Tennessee is one of the least taxed states in the nation. In 1991, Tennessee ranked 49th per capita in state and local taxes. And as this graph reveals, a family earning $100,000 a year pays a considerably lower percentage of its income in taxes than a family earning $25,000. But we get what we pay for. Unfortunately, Tennessee ranks close to the bottom in funding education and human services. Tennessee is ranked 46th in the nation in per pupil expenditure on education. And a mother and 2 children on welfare in Tennessee receive only $185 per month. This is less than 1/2 what most states pay. Without tax reform, many of the necessary services the state provides could very well be threatened. What kind of place would Tennessee be if our state government did not provide our children with a good education, provide secure prisons for dangerous criminals, protect Tennessee's air, streams, and rivers from harmful pollution, provide immunization and other health care, maintain our state roads and highways, and provide many other valuable and needed services.
State services are dependent upon general fund revenue. The majority of state taxes are spent on education, roads, health care, and corrections. Within the last few years, the cost of education to the state of Tennessee has skyrocketed dramatically, and certainly the cost of health care in Tennessee has gone straight through the sky. Each year, education and health care needs have grown. Education needs alone account for almost 29% of the state general fund expenditures, and health care continues to climb at a rate of almost 22% a year. As we have tried to address the needs of the state over the years, we find that we must find new sources of revenue or increase the rates of the taxes that we already have in existence.
Tax reform. What is the fair solution? A tax system based on a person's ability to pay would be the fair solution. It just doesn't make sense to try to collect more and more revenue from those who have the least, while allowing those who have the most to get off without paying their fair share. Lowering the sales tax and instituting a state income tax would be a much fairer way of collecting revenue. Sales tax is regressive. Income tax is progressive.
There has been proposed that we have a much lower sales tax and that we complement that with an income tax of about the same percent. The figures I've seen would allow a family of 4 making $45,000 a year to reduce their sales taxes. They pay enough to overcome any income tax they would have to pay. It would be a wash. A fair tax system could be developed without having to increase taxes. But there would be one exception to that. There would be no increase in taxes, but people who work in Tennessee and earn a living in Tennessee but live in another state would be paying taxes on the money they earn in Tennessee. And I'm told this would create about $80 million a year in revenue for Tennessee. I'm also told that people who file with the federal government would be able to deduct Tennessee income taxes from the federal taxes, and that would mean about $250 million a year to Tennessee. So there's about $330 million that Tennessee would pick up, and the only thing that people would do is change the address on the envelope. They would send the money to Nashville instead of to Washington.
Tennessee is one of only 9 states in the U.S. that does not have a broad-based personal income tax. About half the people in Tennessee would pay less taxes under this new tax system than they're paying now. Those who would pay more are wealthier people. If an income tax were passed, the Hall tax on stocks, bonds, and other investment income could be repealed. The Hall tax hurts many older people who are on fixed incomes and must live on their investments. Sales tax revenue rises and falls with the economy. An income tax would give our state an elastic and stable source of revenue. The legislature would not have to raise the sales tax rate just to keep pace with the state's expenses. Tennessee tax reform legislation needs to remove the sales tax from food, lower the overall sales tax rate, enact a personal income tax with a standard deduction for each member of the family, repeal the Hall tax on investment income. Tennessee's greatest asset is its people. The people of Tennessee deserve a better tax system. Now is the time for tax reform. By working together, we can create a better tomorrow for all Tennesseans.
Well, anybody